Action films are built on illusion scenes choreographed to the second, secrets held under lock and key, studios operating like shadow agencies to keep surprises from slipping out. But sometimes, they slip anyway. In the past decade, an unsettling trend has emerged. High-budget action movies being compromised before they ever reach theaters. Not by critics, not by box office numbers, but by surveillance, by theft, by leaks, entire scripts appearing online, set footage captured by drones, unreleased scenes passed around like contraband. In some cases, the culprit was never identified. In others, suspicion pointed inward at crew, at vendors, at someone with access and motive. This isn't about gossip, it's about loss of control, about how an industry obsessed with managing perception found itself watched, exposed, and outmaneuvered. These aren't stories of failed stunts or broken bones. They're stories of footage seen too soon, of carefully timed reveals spoiled, of marketing strategies collapsing under the weight of a single unexpected upload. Because in Hollywood, control is currency, and when that control is breached, the consequences ripple far beyond the edit bay. What you're about to see are 15 Hollywood action films that were spied on, hacked, or leaked, each one a case study in how even the most powerful studios can lose grip on the story. Fact has shown. The Expendables 32014. Leaked in full, weeks before release. It wasn't a scene, it wasn't a script, it was the entire film. In July 2014, a clean, high-definition copy of The Expendables 3 surfaced online long before its release date. Within hours, the internet had it. By the end of the week, it had been downloaded millions of times. This wasn't a shaky phone recording smuggled out of a screening. It was a polished, studio-level file. Someone, somewhere, had access they weren't supposed to have, and they used it. Lionsgate scrambled, lawsuits were filed, piracy trackers activated, but it was too late. When the film finally hit theaters, much of its audience had already seen it for free. The damage wasn't just financial, it was reputational. The Expendables franchise, once thriving, faltered, momentum evaporated. The third installment became a cautionary tale. No source was ever officially named, but the nature of the leak, its quality, its timing, suggested one thing clearly. This wasn't a random breach, it came from inside. The breach set a precedent. A blockbuster could be gutted before it even had a chance to explode. And in the next case, the explosion didn't come from the movie, but from the studio's inbox. Fact #2, Skyfall, 2012, when 007 got caught in the crossfire. During the fallout from the 2014 Sony Pictures hack, much of the media focused on scandalous emails and executive gossip. But hidden among the wreckage was something far more damaging to a franchise built on secrecy. Skyfall, along with its then upcoming sequel, Spectre, had files leaked, script drafts, internal memos, budget debates, even notes questioning whether certain plot beats felt Bond enough. Behind the scenes, Skyfall had been a battlefield of creative compromises. That tension, meant to stay locked inside the studio, was suddenly wide open. A character known for outsmarting surveillance had become collateral damage in a real-world cyber war. It wasn't just content that was compromised, it was control. The illusion of Bond as flawless, unshakable, untouchable, shattered by leaked PDFs and unsent emails. The film had already premiered, it had already succeeded, but its image, carefully crafted, meticulously managed, was now stained with something no villain had delivered: the truth. And the next breach? It didn't take hacking, it only required altitude. Fact #3, Mission Impossible, Fallout, 2018. Seen from the sky, Tom Cruise was performing another death-defying stunt this time, flying a helicopter through narrow mountain passes in New Zealand. Cameras rolled, crew watched, but they weren't alone. An unauthorized drone hovered nearby. Silent, steady, filming. It didn't happen once. It happened repeatedly. No one knew who was piloting it, but the footage eventually made its way online, grainy but unmistakable. Behind-the-scenes visuals of one of the film's most expensive sequences. It wasn't the footage itself that rattled the studio. It was what it represented: vulnerability. A franchise built on infiltration had been infiltrated, not by elite agents or rogue governments, but by someone with a consumer drone and a sense of timing. Security was tightened, airspace redefined, but the sense of exposure lingered. This wasn't a fictional threat, it was a real one, and it hovered in plain sight. Fact #4, Deadpool, 2016. The leak that greenlit the film, In 2014, Deadpool was just a script collecting dust. Studios had passed, test footage had been produced, but no one was biting. The project was going nowhere. Then the footage leaked. It was 2 minutes of chaos. Digital blood, crude jokes, stylized violence, and Ryan Reynolds in a red suit, doing exactly what fans had been hoping for. The response was immediate and overwhelming. The internet treated the clip like gospel. It spread, it was analyzed, and within days, studio hesitation began to crack. Reynolds later admitted the footage wasn't supposed to be public, but also didn't deny lobbying for its release. "There were only a few of us who had it," he said, pointedly. Whether it was leaked by accident, strategy, or desperation, it worked. The studio greenlit the film. The gamble paid off. But it left a question hovering over the success. Was the leak sabotage or salvation? Because in this case, the crime may have been the pitch. And the next leak? It didn't resurrect a project. It fractured the vision of one of Hollywood's most secretive directors. Fact #5. The Dark Knight Rises, 2012. When the city filmed back. Christopher Nolan is a director who values silence. He crafts mystery, controls the frame, keeps the audience guessing until the moment of reveal. But when The Dark Knight Rises began filming in Pittsburgh, the streets fought back with smartphone. Public sets meant public eyes. And as massive action sequences played out in broad daylight, footage began leaking online. Bane's convoy, Batman's new vehicle, even scenes revealing Bruce Wayne's injuries and alliances. These weren't security camera glitches, they were fan-shot videos. Hundreds of them. Shared, reposted, discussed. It wasn't the content that frustrated Nolan, it was the framing. His carefully composed sequences were being reduced to shaky footage, distorted by distance and noise. Warner Brothers issued takedowns, but the clips had already done their job. They broke the spell. They made Gotham feel smaller. In a film about order crumbling into chaos, the production had experienced a touch of its own medicine. And in the next story, the chaos didn't come from fans. It came from someone on the inside. Fact #6. Fast and Furious 82017, ice, engines, and an internal leak. In the frozen wilderness of Iceland, Fast and Furious 8 was mounting one of its most ambitious set pieces, a vehicle chase across a vast, icy landscape. The location was remote, the schedule tight, the secrecy fragile. Soon after filming began, behind the scenes, photos and video appeared online. Not from satellites, not from paparazzi. From ground level, close, focused, deliberate, the images revealed key vehicles, stunt choreography, even effects, rigs. For a franchise built on spectacle and surprise, the leak dulled the impact before the trailer even dropped. Universal never named a source, but rumors swirled. A vendor? A subcontractor? A crew member with a camera and a buyer? Security was revised, access lists shortened, but the idea was already out. Not all threats wear black hats. Sometimes they wear production badges. Fact #7. Terminator Genesis, 2015. The footage no one was supposed to have. Every studio fears external breaches. But what if the threat never has to jump a fence? During production on Terminator Genesis, a short clip found its way online. It wasn't from afar. It wasn't covert. It was clean, steady, and close. Clearly shot from within the production zone. The footage showed Arnold Schwarzenegger in full costume, interacting with a double in a motion capture suit. A key sequence, leaked months before the studio planned to reveal anything. It wasn't a blurry shot from behind a tree. It was someone standing exactly where crew would be standing. Paramount responded quietly. Crew rotations were made. One departure, unannounced, coincided with the investigation. No charges, no press release. Just an unspoken acknowledgement that something had gone wrong. The film's themes of infiltration, of machines mimicking humans, suddenly echoed uncomfortably close to reality. Because the leak hadn't come from outside, it came from someone holding a pass. Fact #8. Spectre, 2015. Leaked from the inside out. When Spectre was in development, it was supposed to be the return of classic Bond grandeur, tight plotting, globe-spanning set pieces, and airtight marketing. Then came the Sony hack. Entire script drafts hit the internet. Memos between producers revealed debates over tone, budget, and even the third act's structure. Alternative endings, critiques of dialogue, brand partnership discussions, all laid bare. James Bond cinema's most iconic keeper of secrets had his next mission spoiled by a keystroke. The leak wasn't just damaging, it was humiliating. It revealed the machinery behind the mystique. That Bond, for all his sleek surface, was built through compromise, conflict, and marketing metrics. Some rewrites were rushed, marketing pivots made, but the aura had already shifted. Spectre no longer arrived as a surprise. It arrived as a known quantity, and the next leak? It required no hacking, no insider, just people watching from above. Fact #9, John Wick, Chapter 3-2019, filmed by the uninvited. In 2018, John Wick 3 staged a motorcycle chase across Manhattan Bridge, an action sequence designed for maximum secrecy and shock value, but in New York, privacy is a fantasy. Within hours of filming, social media was flooded with footage, dozens of angles, some from rooftops, others from passing cars. A few even showed camera rigs and safety teams mid-shot. None of it was malicious. All of it was disruptive. Fans built theories. Plot points were guessed correctly. The choreography, meant to feel like a jolt of surprise in the theater, was already old news on YouTube. The studio adjusted. Marketing schedules shifted, but they'd lost the element of mystery. In a franchise defined by rules and consequence, John Wick 3 was reminded of a simple truth. You can control the scene, but never the city. Fact #0, Black Widow, 2021. A breach hidden in the workflow. Marvel had built an empire on secrecy, scripts locked in vaults, footage tracked with digital watermarks, final cuts handled under layers of encryption. But with Black Widow, the leak didn't come from hacking. It came from somewhere quieter inside the global post-production machine. In early 2020, behind-the-scenes clips surfaced on Chinese video platforms. Fight choreography, stunt rehearsals, dialogues rehearsed in full costume. It wasn't shaky footage from a fan's phone. It was internal watermarked, uncut, clearly pulled from an authorized feed, likely a vendor, possibly someone reviewing VFX assets or localization files. Marvel didn't confirm. They didn't need to. The footage told its own story. Someone had access. Someone crossed a line. Security tightened, pipelines changed, but the breach had already done its damage. A story about spies, loyalty, and betrayal had experienced its own quiet betrayal long before it hit the screen. Fact #9, Mad Max, Fury Road, 2015. The drone that stole the sandstorm. Fury Road was a logistical miracle. Real explosions, practical stunts, remote locations. But even in the Namibian desert, someone was watching. Midway through a large-scale shoot, a drone appeared overhead, unauthorized and uninvited. It captured a high-angle view of one of the film's major action sequences, tankers colliding, fire blooming in real time. The footage hit niche forums, then it spread. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't cinematic, but it was real, and that, ironically, made it more valuable. Viewers could see the wires, the explosions reset, the scale of what Miller was building. Warner Brothers launched an investigation. Nothing stuck. The drone and its operator vanished. For a film about control and chaos, the irony was sharp. The most chaotic moment came not from on-screen anarchy, but from an invisible camera in the sky. Fact #2, No Time to Die, 2021. Encrypted and held hostage. In 2019, MGM's post-production systems went dark. An organized ransomware attack had encrypted core servers, locking editors, VFX teams, and audio engineers out of the No Time to Die pipeline. Critical files, master audio, final composites, all frozen. The hackers wanted payment. MGM refused. Backup systems kicked in, but the damage was done. Weeks of progress stalled. Timelines buckled. One source suggested an entire set piece had to be reassembled from offline assets. Nothing leaked to the public. The files were never released, but the threat was clear. Even air-gapped systems had cracks. Even Bond wasn't immune. This time, there were no headlines, no trailers spoiled. But behind the scenes, the production had just experienced its own brush with extinction, a silent breach, a modern hostage situation, and a reminder that in a digital world, secrets don't need to be seen to be stolen. Fact #3, The Matrix Resurrections, 2021. The balcony spoilers. In 2020, The Matrix Resurrections filmed in the open streets of San Francisco. Rooftops, alleyways, bridges, carefully staged stunts brought Neo and Trinity back to life, at least on paper. But the streets had their own cameras. From apartment windows, hotel balconies, and high-rise offices, dozens of angles emerged online. Pedestrians posted full stunt sequences. Neo mid-jump, Trinity in motion, harnesses, pads, reset takes. Nothing cinematic, just real. The footage leaked weeks before any teaser. The mystery of how they're back unraveled in shaky, off-angle clips that traveled faster than any official trailer. The studio tried to contain it, but the architecture betrayed them. You can block a street, you can't block a skyline. The Matrix was a story about surveillance, about watching without permission. And this time, the film lived inside its own metaphor. Fact Hasson 4, Transformers, Age of Extinction, 2014. Sketches that spoke too soon. Even before a single scene was shot, Age of Extinction lost its biggest secret. Detailed storyboards leaked online featuring not just vehicles and blocking, but full illustrations of the Dinobots, months before Paramount intended to reveal them. They weren't rumors, they weren't concept art stolen from a desk. They were final stage pre-visualizations, labeled, structured, clearly internal. No one claimed responsibility. The studio didn't confirm, but the community knew. These didn't come from fans. They came from somewhere inside. The leak deflated momentum. The shock of seeing metal dinosaurs in trailers became a confirmation, not a surprise. In a franchise that thrives on transformation, it was a harsh reminder: if you see it too early, it stops evolving. Fact Hasson 5, Top Gun, Maverick, 2022. A glimpse from above. Tom Cruise had demanded realism. No green screens, no studio tricks. Every shot in Top Gun, Maverick had to be done for real, at real altitude, with real G-force. And for the most part, the production delivered. Until one day, during a classified flight sequence, a rogue drone entered military-controlled airspace. Brief, silent. Close enough to get a clear view, then gone. No footage ever surfaced. The operator was never found. But the moment caused chaos. Security locked down. Flight paths remapped. Shoots rescheduled. Was it a thrill seeker? A tech enthusiast? Something worse? No one could say. But for a film built around speed and dominance in the sky, it was a chilling interruption, not by a rival pilot but by a camera with no face. Even in the jet stream, the watchers are watching. Bonus fact, Gund, 1989. A legend, born by accident. In the late 1980 seconds, Gunhead was poised to be a cult mech hit, Japan's answer to gritty cyberpunk, made with the backing of Toho and Western distributors eager for crossover success. But before the film could speak for itself, someone else spoke for it. A work print leaked. Rough edits, timecode running, effects incomplete, actors stumbling through half-lit sets, no polish, just raw, unfinished ambition on a bootleg VHS. It found its way into collectors' circles, fan markets, late-night VHS trades in Asia and the US. Viewers assumed it was a lost cut, a censored version, a masterpiece buried by studios. When Gunhead finally premiered, it couldn't compete not with itself, but with the myth it had accidentally spawned. The official version looked safer, cleaner, but less dangerous, less real. Some films die by leaks. Gund was born by one. A film remembered not for what it was, but for what people thought it had been. And that's the power of a leak. It can rewrite the story before the credits ever roll. Every one of these breaches started the same way, unseen, unnoticed, quiet. A file left unguarded, a drone that slipped past radar, a hand that clicked upload when no one was looking. By the time anyone realized, the damage was already public. So now the question isn't how it happened. It's why it keeps happening. Are leaks just the cost of doing business in the digital age? Or are they signs, tiny ruptures in a system that was never really airtight? And deeper still, what does it say about us that we're always ready to watch?